So what's to do? What's this video going to be about? Basically, I'm going to take time to talk to you today about waist beads. Anyways, so I get a lot of questions about my waist beads. Y'all, my hair is doing sad things. So if I keep flipping it, don't pay me no mind. I first was introduced to waist beads in 2012-ish. My friend Shame, she is from Zambia, West Africa, and came back and gave me a strand, 2 strands of waist beads. This is the first time I had ever heard about waist beads. Here's her story, or her family's explanation of waist beads. So one reason that she and her family understand to wear waist beads, which is really an aesthetic thing for women in Africa, which is about weight gain and weight loss. So you can't get any bigger than your current size. You can only go down because the waist bead will not expand with your waistline. So it's a way for African women of tracking their weight to see how they're managing their weight, because any woman, I'm sure, in any culture, especially after you get married or before you get married, are really conscientious of their weight. But then she gave me a traditional story. She explains the following. Back in the day, young women, prior to getting their first menstrual cycle, would not wear waist beads. Once a woman received her first menstrual cycle, her mother or the matriarch of the family would bestow her with her first strand of waist beads. These waist beads would be worn on the outside as a way to sort of acknowledge to the bachelors of the tribe that she was an eligible woman, because in that culture you were eligible once you were able to procreate and have a family. And of course, menstruation is a sign of a woman's fertility and ability to have children. She would wear these beads, and for every year or season, however that tribe decides to break it up, that she would be single, they would add a strand of decorative beads, and these became also an adornment as something sexual, as the waist is part of the pelvic area and is associated with sex. And also West African dance, these beads would jump and move as a way to catch the attention of the men in the tribe. Through the traditional dances and things, these waist beads are just adornment and a pronunciation of a woman's maturity, okay? Once she finds a man, the night before she either loses her virginity or they consummate the marriage, of course, traditionally, ideally, this would be her losing her virginity. Before she loses her virginity, her husband would cut the strands and she would save them and put them into a box, or she could trash them. The man, just like he would pick out a ring, he would pick out a strand of beads to adorn her waist before they consummate their marriage. And then these waist beads would be worn underneath the clothes, and only her husband will know what they look like. And every year of marriage, or whenever they have children, he would add a strand of beads to her waist. So that sort of wraps up like the 2 variations of the stories I've been given. One is a way to just be mindful of the weight you're either gaining or losing without having to use a scale. 2, in the traditional sense and the historical sense, of course, we know with any West African history, there are no exact stories. These are oral traditions passed down through generations, through folk tales and stories. These can be changed through different groups of people, especially different parts of Africa. I did not wear these waist beads right away. I just hung them in my room and never really touched them, right? It wasn't until 2014 began my first full-time job as a teaching assistant at a public charter school that I met my best friend, and she is Liberian, and she wore waist beads all the time. She actually wore like permanent jewelry that she had on her wrist that didn't slide off. So she was already familiar with having to wear African jewelry as permanent jewelry, jewelry you do not remove. And right before we started the new year with the kids, the week the kids are supposed to come in, she takes me and another co-worker to pick up waist beads. And this adds another element of tradition for me, where you have to have a matriarch, an elder, or a woman of importance put your waist beads on for you, and this becomes like a link or a bond with that woman. So the third reason that someone might wear waist beads to sort of acknowledge a significant familial or female relationship with someone else. So it doesn't have to be anything about your weight or about a man, but it also can be about the significant relationship you have with another woman. And it can be a sisterhood, not just a sisterhood, but just a really strong bond with another woman. And so for me, when I pass this on to someone else, it is signifying a strong connection I have with another woman. And those, for me, have been the three main reasons we've narrowed down why someone may want to wear waist beads. So let's talk about next how to wear them, where to wear them, and what do I have. So currently, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 waist beads. 2 of the waist beads are elastic and the rest are not. I have one set that are extremely large, and me and my aunt Tabitha, who's my age, have the same kind. So the elastic ones are meant to be taken off for my costume reasons, and they're worn a little higher. The lower they are, that's the weight I've lost, and you can sort of measure that by pinching them and measuring. So that's probably about an inch from when I started wearing these, and they will slowly droop as you drop in inches, which makes them ideal for, you know, tracking your weight. And mine tend to rise in the back and lower here. Also, you can put them in areas where you would like your weight distributed. They do tend to go with your body as it changes. Don't mind my belly. So I have some that are in my sorority colors. If you didn't know, I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And so my original one from my Zambian friend is this one. And my very first one ever, they're gone. They're gone now. So now let's talk about and get critical on, are wearing waist beads cultural appropriation? Cultural appropriation. So this buzzword has been in our pop culture for the past decade. As the advancements of technology and the access to each other has increased, we share ideas, traditions, and in the midst of that, we share our culture. And it is not uncommon today to pick pieces of things that you enjoy and attribute them to your own identity. For example, I love Selena Quintanilla and Tejano music because I saw the movie when I was a kid, and my best friend who showed it to me was a Mexican-American girl. I had no other tie to Mexican culture other than through Selena, and that shows the power of one musician's ability to transcend cultures, time, and language barriers, right? Because I'm not completely fluent in Spanish either. So just as one would argue that me wearing a Selena t-shirt is cultural appropriation, one can argue that wearing waist beads is cultural appropriation. And if we're not clear, cultural appropriation is just the adaptation or the use of someone else's culturally specific things and use them without any knowledge or acknowledgement of their cultural significance to that particular group of people. When we're talking about waist beads, they're becoming very popular, especially with this fitness and athleisure group that has developed in American pop culture, and people are finding many different ways to be healthy, and a lot of people have stumbled upon the use of waist beads for weight management. And in that, people lose the cultural significance behind it because they're only told that waist beads are just for that reason. They're not told any of the other stories. You can even ask many African Americans today, and they may only give you the one reason, which is weight management, or that they're just for fun. Wearing someone else's culture just for fun is perfectly fine if you're in that culture. Let's talk about, where do we draw the line when wearing waist beads? When is it cultural appropriation and when is it pop culture? Wearing waist beads, one, if you want to wear them for weight management, make sure you're wearing them underneath your clothes. To me, if you're wearing them outside your clothes and you don't know the reason why waist beads are worn outside the clothes, then you can't even properly begin to explain to someone else. Therefore, you don't understand it in your own essence. Therefore, it's cultural appropriation. However, my Liberian friend says you should always wear them underneath your clothes. My Zambian friend says you wear them outside of your clothes because you're a single woman. Two different stories, two different West African cultures. But because I was given to this, I was given permission to participate in this culture from people within the culture, then I am not culturally appropriating. So two, if you're just finding this because it's fun and you're looking up websites on where to find waist beads, if you have not been invited in, then you don't have permission. If you're just finding it, oh, I just found braids. Oh, I just found waist beads. Oh, it's not the way to go about it. I would suggest finding an authentic waist bead person, which I will link my waist bead woman down below so you can find her. And three, if you only find waist beads interesting, if waist beads are the only interesting thing you find about African culture, don't wear them at all. That's just my feeling. If you don't like the music, if you don't like their languages, if you don't like their food, if you don't like African people, don't wear them. Just because it's fun and they're pretty doesn't mean that you get to wear them. You guys know I'm a samba dancer. I have been invited into that culture by a Brazilian woman. And I continue to respect that culture by studying its history and dancing in it in its authentic form. Hopefully that's clear about our wearing waist beads cultural appropriation. When wearing them, just make sure you've done your research. Get them from an authentic source to support the culture in which they come from, and the money goes directly to the people who know their culture and they're sharing it with you. The woman I'm going to link below, she makes custom awesome pieces and she'll be glad to mail them to you. Hope this video is clear, and if you have any questions, more questions about waist beads, comment down below and let me know. Thanks for being critical with me today, critics, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye.